Alright, so here is the 2-channel wireless remote relay. This is the version without the little jumper switches that you move. This one you have to press this learning button to get it to turn on and off. We have some little test indicator lights. Right now it's on latching. And I don't know if it's going to turn out upside down or what here. So anyway, so this is the unit over here, which is wrapped around my soldering iron. Okay, so basically what you have here is you got 2 relays. Looks like there's place for a third one. Your AC line power input, and then your switches for your respective devices. This one will do 2. There are versions that'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So this video is going to pertain to this style. So if you have this sort of deal, well, we'll learn how to program it. Okay, so now, like I said, it's on latching, which means we're going to press the button. Light's going to come on. Press the same button again. Light goes off. Same thing for the second channel. On, off. Now, the frickin' illegible Chinglish instructions that they give you with this thing are absolutely horrid, along with the wiring diagram. So I'm going to show you how to 1, wire it, and 2, how to program it. Now, over here you'll see we have the line input. So we're going to do negative and positive, coming from the AC line over here. And basically, it tells you on here, if you look real fine, it shows positive and negative. So that's where that goes. And then the center of, if you look closely, you'll see these are divided in 2. This one corresponds to this relay, and that one corresponds to that. That's all there is. The center is your power input. So you'll put in your 120 volts in there as well. By the way, this is a 120 volt unit. So the coil, I believe, is 12 volts on these relays, and that's supplied by the board. And then you supply the AC line 120 volts from the same power source. So we're going to tie that into the center tap of the relay. And if you look at the labels, it'll show you the first one is normal open, COM, and normal close. So you can kind of see the diagram here of where this relay should have been, and we can see that the normal close corresponds with the relay being shut over there. And then again, the COM is the center tap where you put in your 120 volts, and then it'll either switch on either side. So what I've done is I put 120 volts into the center, and then I put my lights on the normal open side. So if I were to press this and it were on the normal close, the light would go off, so the action would just be reversed. So that's all there is to that. The only thing you got to do is put 120 volts into the center and then tie all the neutrals together. Now, to program this fucking thing, let's see. Okay, darken that a bit. You have this black button here. Now, what happens is, to clear everything, you hold this guy down, the red light comes on, you release, and then you're going to see it flash. And that's it. The remote's been cleared, or not. So I'm not quite sure why it didn't work, but that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to clear it. Okay, now to get into the modes, what happens is you press down this button and you hold it, and then it's going to do 3 flash cycles. It's going to flash back and forth once, there's going to be a pause, back and forth twice, there's going to be a pause, and then back and forth 3 times. And those are your 3 modes. So the first one is a toggle or a jog, and that's when you press it on, and when you release it, it goes off. The second mode is what I have now, which is latch, on with the same button, and off. And the third mode is an alternate, which means you press one, it comes on, and then you press the other, that one goes off, and then the other one comes on. So there's always one on, and it just selects between the 2 of them. Now what we do for that, to get into the programming, is we're going to hold down the button, switch it to the red light, and now you're going to see it's going to start flashing. So we have 1, there it is, and now it's going to do 2, 1, 2, and then it's going to do 3. And then what you have to do is you stop at the one you want, you release within 2 seconds, you hold down the button, you're gonna see it flash, and then you press your programming button. So we'll go ahead and we'll program in the first one. So we'll hold this down. It's gone red, now you're gonna see it flash. And there's the flash. Okay, now we release, we hold down, we release, and then we press this, flashes, press the next button, it flashes, and now we're programmed on latch. So you'll see that, or sorry, on toggle. So on, off, on, off. Same thing for the second. I'll try and get these into frame here. On, off, and then B, on, off. Now we'll go into the last mode. So we'll hold this. Red light comes on. Here's the first flash. 1, 2 for the second. And then 1, 2, 3. I release, I hold down again. The red light comes on, and then I program my first button. Lights flash, second button, lights flash, and it's programmed. So now you'll see I'll turn on 1, and now I cannot turn it off. There always will be 1 on. So I can only select between B or A. So by pressing the A or B button, it switches. Now we're going to go back into the latch, which is the second mode. So we're going to hold down the button. Red light comes on. First mode, flash. We don't want it, so we're going to wait for the second one. 2 flashes, release, press the button until the red light comes on. And now we're going to program the button for 1. Flashes to indicate it's been programmed. Button 2, flashes to indicate it's been programmed. So now we're on latch, on, off. So I can have both on, 1 on, and by pressing the same button it turns off. So hopefully that is a little bit of insight on how to get this thing working for your needs if you have this type, because I wasn't able to find any videos pertaining to the programming of it. Now, a word of caution, this is a Chinese thing, so unless you're willing to risk the possibility of an insurance claim, don't go stuff this into your attic or a wall and expect it to work. Just play around with it, get comfortable using it, and do be careful of where you install this thing, because like I said, it is a little made in China, cheap Chinese switch. So be smart about it and use proper gauge wiring. I just use thin wire for testing purposes. And you know, you're on your own really. You gotta know what you're doing before you mess up with these things. I was trying to decipher the Chinglish instructions, and I blew the fucking trace out of the back of the circuit board by shorting something out, and I had to resolder it. I'll actually show you that here in a sec. So I took it off its little protective plastic, and you can see that big burn mark right here. And what happened was, I don't know why, but I connected a neutral here, and when it latched, it arced and it blew the trace right out of the back of the board. So I had to solder in a little jumper here, and ever since then I plugged it into a GFCI receptacle to protect it. And I did notice that once you unplug it and then when you replug it, it does seem to remember the remote and the mode that you were using. So that's a good feature. And that's all I really have to add about that. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a message, or if you know anything more about these things, leave a comment.